In today's episode of the Shane Holmes Podcast, from paperboy to 100 million in real estate assets, Hector Padilla reveals how he grew his net worth and how you can do the same. If you love creating generational wealth as much as I do, then this one's for you.
I started off with just my own money. I pulled all my money out of my retirement account, and that's how I funded my first flip. So in real estate, there's two ways to make more money. One is volume. Second is power plays. So I would rather do a multi-million-dollar deal than to take 173 listings. People say, like, what's the secret to my success?
Yeah.
Okay. So of course it's...
Welcome back to the Shane Holmes Podcast. Today we have Hector Padilla. Hector is a great guy, very successful in real estate, started from nothing, and now he has over $100 million in assets that he owns and manages. Hector, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Hey, thank you, Shane, for having me on board. Appreciate it. Nice to meet you.
So we were just talking about how you started as a paperboy, just to give our listeners some insight as to how you can really do anything you want. Do you mind sharing a little bit with your story about them?
Absolutely. So long story short, when I meet people, especially what I call the young cats, I don't want them to look at me and say like, wow, he's, a genius, or he went to Ivy League schools, or he was raised by a wealthy family, and no wonder he's been able to buy over $100 million in real estate and live his dream lifestyle. So my story is basically, I went from being a newspaper boy to working security to becoming a Santa Monica police officer to then being a broker's assistant, buyer's agent, listing agent, broker owner, doing fix and flips for 15 years, and then finally making my pivot and becoming the savvy and sophisticated investor. And that is what has allowed me to build my real estate acquisition and investment firm with a built-in management company, a built-in maintenance company, and a built-in brokerage, but we only service my portfolio. And that setup has been the big game changer that, again, now has allowed me to live my dream lifestyle.
That's awesome. So how long ago did you start really seriously acquiring real estate?
So when I left the police department, I wanted to become the investor, but I didn't know where to start. So I got hired as a broker's assistant. So I was working for him, and after 8 months of trying to learn the fix and flip business, in 8 months, I did my first fix and flip. So it's been now about 24 years.
Okay.
Yep.
So 24 years ago, and you were selling and doing fix and flips at the same time? Or what was that?
So here's what happened. So when I left the police department, I felt like I knew everything. I was a young cat, right? So I had a big ego.
Yeah.
But ego means eliminates growth opportunity. So I left the police department, and after 8 months, I did my first flip, and I bought the first flip. What did I buy it for? I bought it for about 30 something thousand. I sold it. I netted about 22,000. So back then, for me to walk out with the check of whatever it was, like $55,000 was huge.
Yeah.
At that point, I was rich.
Yeah.
And I knew everything. So I went off on my own. But then what happened, Shane, is what happens to a lot of realtors. I then got sucked into the commissions. So then people found out I was now a realtor. And next thing you know, I was selling a house for my aunt and the uncle and the cousins and the friends. So then I started making some good paychecks. So I kind of got away from the fix and flips and started focusing on being a realtor. And then from there, I got back into doing the fix and flips again. So it's been going on for 24 years now.
Okay. You enjoyed the realtor part, but not as much as fix and flipping, or you didn't like it. What was that experience like for you?
Oh, no. I loved it. So when I got started, I was on go mode. So when I was on go mode, I was working half days, right? And the young cats, whenever I tell them I was working half days to be able to be where I'm at today, they're like, wow, so you were working 4 hours a day. No, a half day, when you're on go mode, a half day is the first 12 hours of the day or the second 12 hours of the day. But I loved it so much. I was single. I wasn't married, no kids. So I was working 10, 12, 15 hours a day.
Yeah.
And loved it, right?
Yeah.
It was my passion. So much as being a realtor to then becoming the broker owner to being the fix and flip guy, loved it. It was a great ride.
What was your experience like being a broker owner?
So you're now a broker owner,
I started
right?
my brokerage, 90 days ago, 60 days ago? Yeah, so 2-3 months ago. Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a love-hate relationship, okay? So when you're the broker owner and you're recruiting new people, the part that hurts is when you take a young cat and you teach them the business.
Yeah.
Right? And then you build a relationship and you feel like, hey, you're friends now. They understand the business. They're starting to make money. but then their ego gets in the way because all of a sudden they sell 5 houses or 10 houses and they think they're the superstars, right? And now they're being recruited by another brokerage who's offering them a free office or some capital for their marketing. And so now they end up leaving your brokerage and now you got to recruit again.
Yeah.
Right. But it was still nice to be able to show them the business and then you see them taking off and it works out well. And then the ones that stay with you, you build a longer relationship with them and it's a fun business.
And do you still own the brokerage?
I still have my own broker's license, but we only handle my portfolio.
Okay.
So I'm not out there trying to get listings or I'm not representing buyers. We just represent my own portfolio when we're buying and selling.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah. I started my firm and we actually haven't really been recruiting. Like it's more so just our own space.
Okay.
I plan to bring on a handful of agents, but I'm not that into the idea of taking new agents and training them because it's trading my time for training when I could be buying another flip, buying another rental, servicing my own clients and my own portfolio, like you said.
So let me tell you what happened. Now, at some point, when you're a listing agent and you already know this, you've been in the business for 10 years now, right? Give or take 10 years?
Exactly a decade, yeah.
So when you're the listing agent, you're wearing all the hats. You're all of a sudden the attorney, the family therapist, right? The accountant. They come to you for everything. And if the house doesn't appraise, whose fault is it?
Exactly.
Your fault, right? If the buyer comes back and wants too many repairs, whose fault is it? Your fault, right? So at one point, I got tired of that.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, who's the one client who I enjoy working with, who's fun to work with, and appreciates my time and my expertise? And you know who that was, Shane?
Yeah, it was you.
Me.
Yeah. I just started doing the math and I'm like, no, I have a few clients that I really enjoy working, but I get what you're saying. Like, it's much more predictable.
So I became my own best client.
Yeah.
So now when I was doing the fix and flips, now I was out there as the investor getting the fix and flip. I was bringing it in through the brokerage, getting the commission.
Yep.
Right. Doing the fix and flip and then getting the listing.
Yep.
And then from there, I was picking up another buyer, another listing, but I would hand that off to my team. And then I would still focus on my own production.
Got it.
Yep.
That's super, super similar to what I'm doing right now.
Good.
Like I've got a flip literally around the corner right now.
Okay.
In this neighborhood that I've been doing. And yeah, my goal is to scale out the flips, service my existing clients, obviously continue growing.
Yep.
And then be able to give the leads. I want to be so busy that I'm just giving the leads to my right-hand man, my team, etc. Everything you're saying makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah. When you were doing flips or when you started acquiring a lot of rental properties, were you raising capital? Were you doing this with your own capital? What was your strategy?
I started off with just my own money. So if you go back on my Instagram, you'll see that I literally broke my $5 water jug, which was my piggy bank.
Yeah.
And I pulled all my money out of my retirement account. And that's how I funded my first flip. Okay. Because I didn't know any better. I didn't know how to raise money. So what has really been a game changer for me is I got out of the brokerage business on recruiting agents and taking listings. And I got out of the fix and flip business because when I was in the fix and flip business, yes, I was making good paychecks. But I was getting killed in taxes. And then I was always chasing the next flip.
The next deal, yeah.
Right? So I'm always on that rat race, always in that hamster wheel. So once I started to focus on multi-million-dollar properties and holding on to them and doing joint ventures. So now I was the finder because I didn't have millions of dollars.
Yeah.
So now I was the finder and I would bring in a funder. We would do a joint venture. We would sell it and do a 1031 exchange and then level up. So now I'm buying a 5-unit, repositioning that asset, doing a 1031 exchange, paying no taxes, and getting into a 10-unit. And that started the snowball effect.
Got it.
Yep.
That's awesome. Who was your mentor that you mentioned again?
Well, I always tell people, people say like, what's the secret to my success?
Yeah.
Okay. So of course it's reading excellent books by vetted people, right? Listening to excellent audio programs and having vetted mentors. So I've had several vetted mentors. One was Bill the Billionaire, who already passed away. One was Ron LeGrand. He's still alive. I think he's like, 75-ish. The other one is Dan Pena, the $50 billion man. I'm on his wall of fame in his castle in Europe for buying over $100 million in real estate. And he's now about 80. But I would say those were 3 of my main mentors.
Dan is the guy that's worth billions of dollars that's like yelling all the time, right?
Yeah.
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 Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. How'd you get in contact with him?
Excellent question. So here's what happened. How many years have you been married?
3, 2,
3 years,
something
2
like
years.
that.
I hope your wife is not watching this.
Yeah,
She's gonna
she
get
probably
upset,
will.
right? Yeah. So here's how I met Dan Pena. So when I had my daughter, who's now 9 years old, I semi-retired because I was going to be the full-time, fully engaged dad. So I semi-retired, and here's what happened. I went from going 100 miles an hour, owning the brokerage, doing fix and flips, and holding on to real estate, to all of a sudden just coming to a stop.
Yeah.
Right? So in this Ferrari right here, you floor it. How fast does it go 0 to 100?
This is probably 0 to 60 in 3 seconds.
3 seconds?
2.9
Okay,
or something.
so
Yeah.
I was going 0 to 100 and then coming to a complete stop. So here's what happened. When I became the full-time father, waking up, doing the diaper change and the feedings,
Yeah.
I started to get anxiety
Yeah.
and depression because most men, we're not built to stay home and do Google that daddy with the baby and change diapers and all that. We're mostly not wired like that.
I also just genuinely believe that we're not wired to be at home.
We want to hunt.
Yeah. I feel like I
wanna
was
kill.
built to go out and kill and then take home. And then I'm the man. And then my wife is amazing. Cause like I've tried to fill her shoes on occasions.
Oh,
I can't do it for more than 2 hours, dude. There's no way.
absolutely.
Yeah. So I could understand you going from all that. So go ahead.
I was having a cigar one night and I was having a cocktail and I was watching YouTube and I saw the interview with Dan Pena, the $50 billion man, on London Real. And I'm a former police officer. And his father was a former police officer. And Dan Pena is hardcore. He's not there to give you a hug. He's there to give you a kick in the ass.
Yeah.
Right? So when I saw his interview, I'm like, man, you know what? This is what I need. I need a strong mentor that's going to kick my ass so I get back in the hunt. The challenge is I'm married and I have an infant.
Mm-hmm.
I go back and I tell my wife, I just saw this great, interview podcast, right? And I want to go see this guy named Dan Pena. And she was like, well, where is he? I said, he's in Scotland. And she's like, well, go see him. I'm like, sweetie, not Scottsdale, Arizona, Scotland, Europe. And she was like, no, sweetie, go see him. She's like, as a matter of fact, go see him. I told her the event was an 8-day event at his castle. She goes, and then after that, tour Europe and take your best friend with you. That's a supportive wife.
That's a wife right there. That's
a
crazy.
supportive
That's
wife.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I went to go see Dan Pena. I toured Europe. I stayed out there for a month. I came back and I recalibrated. I recharged the batteries and I got back in that hunt.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's awesome.
So that's how I met Dan Pena.
So then did you really start scaling after that? When you got recharged, that's when you started raising capital and JV and going hard and buying multi-unit?
100%. Because Dan Pena helped me think bigger and he kicked my ass.
Yeah.
Right? I'll give you an example. We're doing a mentorship call and I'm in Cabo. I have a vacation home there. So I'm there with my family, my wife, my newborn, my parents, and we're having this global mentorship call. And he's asking me what I did as far as business. And I told him, I'm not working. I've been here for 10 days, haven't made one phone call. And he's like, do you understand Spanish? Do you understand Spanish or no?
No.
Nothing?
I mean,
poquito. Taco, cerveza.
Yeah.
So here's what Dan Pena
Margarita.
said. Yeah. So when I told him that, he said, what do you say? You lazy fucking Mexican cunt. Okay? You're going to end up broke and selling tacos on the street. Okay? Now, I was already wealthy when I went to go see him.
Yeah.
Right? But what I told him is, I said, Dan, I understand what you're telling me. But right now, what's important for me is to spend time with my little girl. Because once she turns 13, she's not going to want to be with daddy anymore. Or if she is, it's going to be a limited amount of time. My parents are older already. I don't know whether they're going to be here for dinner tonight. Literally, right? Mm-hmm. I'm on my first marriage and I want to stay married. I don't want to get a divorce. So right now I'm on vacation. I'm going to enjoy my family. When I get back to the office, it'll be go time again.
Yeah.
But because of Dan, I did make my pivot and I focused on multi-million-dollar properties and holding them. And that's what made me wealthy and not just what I call a Henry. Do you know what a Henry is? A Henry is a high earner, not rich yet. That's a Henry.
Got it.
Okay. So what I tell also the young cats is like, don't just try to look rich, become wealthy and then start to buy all the toys.
Yeah. I think that's a big gap in most young business owners that I see. Like for me, I don't pay for my cars. Like, I don't make my car payments.
Mm-hmm.
My tenants make my car payments.
Beautiful.
I will never make a car payment. And that was a rule I made for myself when I was 23. And I think that's where people lose, is they're earning their income and they're spending it on depreciating shit.
That's right.
And it has to be the other way around, or you'll literally never get rich. And
That's
we've
right.
all seen it because we deal with agents day in and day out. Most agents don't own real estate,
They don't.
period, the end. And then they're buying the Mercedes or whatever. They're not building wealth.
Yep. So, what you said is just on point. A better way to say it, so that I always talk about the young cats, right?
Yeah.
So the younger guys, so that you guys can understand, wanting a beautiful car like this, of course you're going to want it. Whether it's the Lamborghini, the Ferrari, the Rolls Royce, whatever it is. I'm not saying don't get it. Get it. But first, invest in real estate. Start a real estate holding company. Then get the car through the real estate holding company. Have the car leased to the real estate holding company. Have your real estate make the payments. And now it's a write-off. And like you said, now you're not making the payment. Now the tenants are making the payments. So it's okay to want the toys, but be smart about it. Don't get the toys with earned income. Get the toys by investing in cash producing assets and have those assets pay for the toys.
There we go. Yeah. We see it like so often in real estate, day in and day out, where agents will make a check, maybe two, have a good year, go and buy a nice car, and we're commission only.
Right.
So like, you don't know how much money's coming in next month ever.
That's right.
And you've got a lot of overhead. And it's not that I don't have overhead. It's just that the majority of the shitty purchases, the dumb things, all of that is paid for by cash producing real estate. But what interests me about your path is that we have almost an identical path, other than post police work. I started on a team, moved to a mentor, and then I was an agent, and I started my own team, and then the brokerage. I feel like an interesting next step that I've talked to multiple people about is looking at the bigger dollars of apartment buildings and things of that nature. And I think a lot of other agents are probably interested in that. Well, what is your advice going from being the person selling real estate to being the person buying the multi-unit, multi-million-dollar assets?
So a couple of things. Sometimes I get off course. If I get off course, bring me back.
Yep.
All right.
I got you.
Yeah. All right. Realtors don't know their numbers. Okay. On average, let's just say that your listing is $750,000 a listing. Okay. And you're getting paid a 2% commission. How many listings do you need to take to net $1 million? And what realtors look at is they'll say, oh, well, I'm going to make $15,000 on that listing. No, you're not. Because now you're going to have a brokerage split, federal tax, state tax, self-employment tax, and business overhead. So they think they're making 15, but at the end of the day, you know what their net is?
Yeah, it's about half.
It's less than half.
Yeah.
It's about $5,700.
Yeah.
So you got to take, you got to take about 185 listings because they're not all going to sell. And you got to close about 173 listings to net $1 million.
Yeah.
So in real estate, there's two ways to make more money. One is volume, 173 listings. Second is power plays, net more money. So I would rather do a multi-million-dollar deal and net $1 million than to take 173 listings.
Yeah.
Anyone that's taking 170, not even taking, you're taking 185 listings to close 173, you need a team.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's a boatload of work.
Yep.
Right? So I would rather focus on doing one good power play, a multi-million-dollar deal, than taking 185 listings.
Yeah. In that interim of, transitioning from taking 100 listings or making $1 million into acquiring these assets, you still need income during that duration. So your advice is continue selling.
Absolutely.
And then also continue working on acquiring multifamily.
Definitely. The goal is for you to be able to say, I am a savvy and sophisticated investor purchasing multi-million-dollar properties and building your real estate holdings. In the meantime, of course, hey, it's great to make a flip. Flip it, make some money, take some listings. But eventually, look, I did it for 15 years. But after 15 years of doing it, I knew, man, I can't keep this up.
Yeah.
Right? Especially as you get older. Listen, when you're young and you don't have kids and you're not married, it's go time, right?
It's easy, yeah.
It's easy.
Well,
you have 2 children.
2.
Yes?
Yeah.
2. What are their ages?
1 and 4.
1 and 4. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's that's a heavy lift.
Yeah.
That's a lot of time,
Yeah.
right? Okay. So and you're how old now?
30.
30. Beautiful. So once you're in your 30s and you have a wife and you have children, things change
Fast.
So at some point, you don't want to be out there taking that many listings or doing that many flips. You want to have your real estate portfolio taking care of you so that you have true time freedom. And see, most realtors will say, I have a flexible schedule, right? Yeah, you have a flexible schedule, but you don't have true time freedom.
Yeah.
And what you want to have is true time freedom at some point.
Yeah, I have right now 0 time freedom. It's all kids, wife, which I absolutely love more than anything in the world, and then building the brokerage. Continuing to build my business. What I'm doing right now for realtors that are interested in making more money and maybe not actually expending more of your energy is force your price point up. So if you want to make more money and you don't want to be taking 180 listings, what I'm doing right now is I'm literally just forcing the price of my sales upwards. I'm advertising to homes that are more expensive. I'm golfing with higher net worth people.
Absolutely.
And playing that game. And that is a lot more fun to me.
That's it. So you definitely got to make it fun. And yeah, look, instead of selling, $300,000 homes, right, is focus on the affluent class. It's a funner class. They're easier to work with. They're most of the time more professional. And now you don't have to do so much quantity. You can do some quality deals.
One thing that I do enjoy about working with higher net worth people, their decision-making is quick.
Oh, yeah.
And they understand how dedicated you are to your craft and how much of an expert that you are. They've been through it enough times to go, oh, wow. Like, okay, do your thing.
Yeah.
They're not like, oh, what happened here? Oh, what happened here? It's like, okay,
you don't have to
is it
babysit
closing?
them as much.
Exactly.
Now here's going to be a game changer for you, Shane. So what you're learning with the brokerage business is when you're doing a fix and flip and you're contacting the homeowner, they're more emotional because a lot of the times that's where they're living or they inherited the property, but it's an emotional sale.
Mm-hmm.
When you're dealing in purchasing a multi-million-dollar property, whether it's an apartment building or commercial office space, these sellers, they're now in their 70s, 80s, and sometimes 90s. So they're not looking to sell that property to cash out to get the Ferrari, right? They're not looking to buy the mansion. What they want is they want to get rid of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot less emotion and it's more math. And you being the superhero and coming in and resolving their problems.
Yeah. And how do you advertise to these guys primarily?
Oh, man. So I've been in the business now 24 years, right? So we have a lot of different fishing lines, but the main fishing lines are going to be what you just said about playing golf is networking stealth mode. Networking stealth mode. And what that is for the younger guys is I wasn't going to a networking event and passing out my business cards, right? I would go not golfing, but I would go shooting or I would go do something else and surround myself with affluent people and get them to like me, trust me, and want to do business with me. And then that's how I got the business. Mm-hmm. And then what I would also do, if I got the listing and I had a good idea of what kind of money they had, I then asked them to joint venture with me. Mm-hmm. And I would sell their property to do whatever, but then they would joint venture with me on a multi-million-dollar deal.
So you would broker commercial as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but remember that I got away from the commissions because I said, if I find the deal that's good enough, why am I going to get paid a simple commission when I can become a principal partner?
Yeah.
Yep.
You can invest in
So I
some
would have
material,
the affluent person come in. They would come in with the money. I'm the finder. They're the funder. And we would do a joint venture.
Got it.
Yep.
And then, so that's how you would find potential clients to JV with. How are you still sourcing those apartment buildings that you're buying, that you're finding the value in?
Excellent. All right. So one of my mentors, when I was making my first transition from a listing agent to a flipper, okay, he was an older cat. And the older vetted mentors, their attention span and their patience, it's about this long right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when I asked him that question, I wanted to get out of the listings and get into the fix and flips. And he said, Hector, if you plant potatoes, don't expect to get tomatoes. And if you plant tomatoes, don't expect to get potatoes. Have a good day. And he hung up on me. And I'm like, what the hell did that mean? Right. So here's what he was saying though. If I'm doing open houses, what am I going to find?
Buyers and potential sellers. Yeah.
Maybe a seller, but for the most part, a buyer, right? If I'm dialing for dollars in a pocket looking for a listing of $1 million, I'm going to get a listing, right? So whatever you seek is what you're going to find. So then I learned how to seek for flips. So now I have to know who's my ideal client to get into the multi-million-dollar deals. So my ideal client is someone who owns a multi-million-dollar deal. They don't need the money and they'll give me seller financing.
Yeah.
That's my ideal client.
Yep.
So to get that, you need to have multiple fishing lines. So one is direct mailers, right? Another one is what I call my LOI system, which is my letter of intent system. The other one is a broker prospecting system, which is us prospecting directly to brokers so that they send us the deals off market.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Another one is door knocking. But instead of looking for the listing, I'm asking for the deal.
Okay.
I'm asking to buy it.
Yeah.
Right? So on one of my most recent ones, Shane, I door knocked. I bought a property. Then I door knocked on a neighbor. And eventually he said yes, that he wanted to sell, but he wasn't ready. But when he was going to retire, that he would sell to me.
Okay.
So I stayed top of mind. I found out, what do we have in common? Networking, right? What do we have in common? And what we had in common was Cabo. He loved Cabo. I loved Cabo. So every time I'd go to Cabo, I would send him a quick little video. Hey, thinking about you, Ted. His name is Ted. Ted, thinking about you. I'm in Cabo, wishing you all the best. Every now and then, I would ask for him to sell me the property. And I would joke with him, right? Long story short, he sold me the property. He sold me 2 other parcels. So now I have 3 parcels. You know what I can build on those 3 parcels?
What's that?
98 units.
Awesome.
That asset, when it's built, 98 units, is going to be worth $50 million. That's called a legacy play. That property will stay in my family trust past my lifetime and hopefully past my daughter's lifetime. And that's a $50 million play, Shane, on a door knock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And then you bought these parcels of land when you originally knocked on his door. Was this like a single family home?
He had, one is 3 cottages, 3 houses on a lot.
Okay.
And the other one is 2 houses on a lot. And then I bought an 8 unit right next door to his.
Okay.
So here's another little power play lesson is whenever you buy a piece of real estate, door knock to your neighbor to the right and door knock to the neighbor to the left and simply let them know, hey, listen, I just bought this property next door to yours. And I was just wondering if you'd be interested in selling it without paying any commissions and making no repairs. Does that sound like something you'd be interested in doing? And that's how I got it. Because if I would have told him, do you want to list your property? What would he have said?
Absolutely the fuck.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I said, I want to buy it. And I built rapport with him. And I got the deal.
So were you advertising direct to buy while you were a realtor? So my concern in doing that is like, I have a big brand in this market.
Yep.
Like it's very well known. If I'm, soliciting flips saying, hey, we'll buy your home cash.
Yeah.
Does that kind of dilute your brand in your market because you're now buying instead of servicing?
You're going to have 2 different brands. So what you need to, here's what I tell you guys. Listen, one is your real estate brokerage. That's one entity. Your second entity is for flipping, right? Just for flips. Because remember, the IRS does not see you as an investor. They see you as a real estate dealer, right? Your third entity is your holding company. That's where you're going to hold real estate. So if you're going to do fix and flips, you should have a whole different company doing that.
Yeah,
because Is it Shane Holmes? Is that the name of the brokerage?
I have Shane Holmes, and then I actually do have a second brand. So you're saying that is the one that the LLC for the fix and flips advertise on behalf of that brand?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Shane Holmes is a listing brokerage.
Yep.
That's it. Right?
Yep.
You guys get top dollar for your clients in a hassle-free manner.
Yep.
Your other fix and flip, you buy a property in a hassle-free manner. The seller pays no commissions, makes no repairs, and you can even pay for their moving costs.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love having a podcast because I get to benefit from it because now I already have my brain spinning on exactly which marketing campaign that I'm going to send out next.
Absolutely.
To find my next deal. And the amazing part about advertising for this company, this has happened time and time again, where you advertise for a flip or like you send out letters for whatever it is to get someone to sell to either yourself or your client. 80% of the people that respond aren't going to fit the bucket.
That's right.
And you tell them straight up, hey, you don't fit the bucket for this client, or you don't fit the bucket for myself. Would you still consider an offer from someone else? And I actually do a ton of business from that.
Yeah.
Because they don't fall into just that one bucket. So I like what you're telling everyone about having the multiple buckets.
So what you're going to do is how are you going to fall back on that? So here's how I used to do it. So we have our flipping company, right? Marketing. And you're right. You're looking for a needle in a haystack, right? But the needle exists. Yeah. But most people want market value, or they want more than market value, right?
Yeah.
So then what you say at that point is like, hey, listen, unfortunately, the property does not fit our cash buy criteria. But what I can do is I can refer you to Shane Holmes. He's who we use to sell our properties for top dollar. Is it okay if I have him give you a phone call? Mm-hmm. They say yes. Now you go for the listing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Were you the one fielding all these phone calls?
No.
Yourself?
God, no.
Yeah?
No.
Because I'm still a one-man show for the most part. Like I've got an agent at my brokerage and people that work for me, but I close everything.
I may come in as the closer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's different. So I may come in on the closing call, but I'm not fielding all the calls.
Okay.
I would always have an acquisitions agent handling all the calls.
Okay.
Pre-qualifying the calls. Once he got one that was good, then it would come to me. But that's him running the comps, talking to the seller, seeing if they're motivated. Are we kind of near the price that we want to get? Mm-hmm. Then it came to my desk.
Got it.
Otherwise, you're going to drive yourself crazy.
I work.
You already are.
I still work 12 hours. I mean, like this whole year, before I finally got sick 2 weeks ago, my body just like shut down. I went 12-hour days and including weekends and work, sitting 2 open houses a weekend.
So you got to change that.
7 days a week for 4 months straight.
Yeah. No, you got to change it. So look, one of the hot words right now is grinding, right? You got to grind. You got to grind. I don't like that word grinding. For me, grinding means, and again, to each their own, here's what it means to me. To me, it means you're not working intelligently.
Yeah.
So what you need to do is work intelligently and use leverage. That's what you have to do, not grind. You grind and you're going to get sick.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, absolutely. And remember, the number one cause of disease is inflammation. Mm-hmm. And the number one cause of inflammation is stress.
Yeah.
And where does stress come from? Work. So you need to have your A team in place.
Yeah.
And you need to have a vetted mentor.
Yeah.
You need to have a vetted mentor.
Well, wish me good luck later today. I'm finally I think I found my operations manager / assistant to come in, and she would be the ones that would field the incoming calls from the leads if they do come. So
excellent.
I am really hoping to have that role filled because I haven't read this book yet. People keep telling me to read it, Buy Back Your Time. And I just keep thinking to myself, like, I am spending so much time writing contracts and fielding calls that I do not need. It doesn't require my labor. Like I don't need to be doing this, but I'm still doing it because everyone glorifies grinding.
They glorify it,
yeah.
Right? But no, it's working strategically. Yeah. It's working intelligently.
Yeah.
Right? You got to think to yourself, when I first started, Shane, my mentor said, Padilla, do you have an assistant? And I said, no. And he said, congratulations, you are one.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So if you do not have an assistant, then congratulations, you are one, which means that your tasks that you're doing are worth $20 an hour. So how are you going to make $1 million a year or $500,000 a year if you're involved in doing $20 an hour tasks? You need to have an executive assistant.
Yeah.
You need to have an acquisitions agent. You need your attorney, your CPA, your CFO. All of that will come with time, but you have to build a team.
Yeah. Yeah. I still do that's part of the reason that I have to work those 12-hour days is because
that's it. Yeah,
I do, I have a transaction coordinator and other help, but time is the killer. I'm losing all that time during the day where I could be doing income producing activities or golfing at Sherwood or whatever.
So my Bill the Billionaire, he was my mentor. Mm-hmm. He passed away already. But one of the things that he told me was focus on wealth creation action and stop wasting your time on the minutia, on the activity. Everybody wants to grind and be busy, right? Mm-hmm. But you got to focus on wealth creating action, right? So now look, think about yourself. Let's just say that, you still take your listings and you hand them off to your listing agent.
Yeah.
You get the buyer calls and you hand that off to your buyer's agent, right? You have a flip and you hand it off to your acquisitions agent. And then you focused on multi-million-dollar deals.
Yeah.
And let's just say that you're a little slow starter, right?
Yep.
And you only close one power play, one multi-million-dollar deal every 6 months. Would your life change drastically? Yes or yes?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So power play for you is you're buying something that's worth several $1 million.
Yeah. So what I want to do is I'm trying to net $1 million or more per power play.
Okay.
I don't always hit the million, Sometimes it's 500,000.
Yep.
Sometimes it's 350. But the goal is to make $1 million or more per power play.
Are you talking about something that's like you got $1 million equity position in a new acquisition that you're holding, or are you looking to flip it and make $1 million?
No, not flip it. No. So remember, to create wealth, you need to hold.
Yeah.
Okay. You need to start holding the real estate and build that monthly passive income.
Mm-hmm.
So something I tell the young guys as well is everybody's talking about being a billionaire, right? The young guys don't even know what it's like to be a billionaire. They have no idea how much work it's going to take to become a billionaire, but they're talking about, I'm going to become a billionaire.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You don't need $1 billion. What you need to do is do the reverse math. I call it, my number one word is lifestyle. Figure out what kind of lifestyle do you want to live? What kind of car do you want to drive? You want the Ferrari? Beautiful. How much is that per month? You want to live in a nice house? How much is that per month? You want your vacation home? How much is that per month? You want to go out to nice restaurants? How much is that per month? Then figure out how much do you need to make per month to live your dream lifestyle, and then create that through passive income by investing in the multi-million-dollar properties.
Yeah.
For some people, it's 25,000. For others, it's 50, right? Some people say, I want to make 100,000. But with the 100,000 a month coming in, trust me, you can live a plush lifestyle.
Yeah. I love that. That's some of the best advice that's been given on this podcast so far.
Thank you.
Because we all grind and look at biz, but really in the end of the day, the only reason I sell real estate is so I can buy more. Like that's it's really the only reason I do it, so that I can retire one day, or maybe just make more intelligent moves and not have to be grinding 24/7.
So now you work because you want to work, right? Yeah, absolutely.
So do any of the buy and holds, do you do any single family buy and holds, or
No,
is it all?
No.
It's all apartment now.
Yeah, all
Okay.
multi-million.
Okay.
Yep. And actually now, like, I'm semi-retiring again. So I just told you on May 15th, I'm moving to Cabo
Yeah.
to live the beach life,
Yep.
right? And this is where everybody should want to get to. You want to get to a point where you don't have to buy anymore and you don't have to sell anymore. You don't have to grind.
Yeah.
If I buy something now, it's because it's a cherry deal. It's something I want.
Yeah.
If I sell something, it's because someone's making me a stupid offer. And I'm like, okay, you know what? Maybe I will consider it. But this is the point where you guys want to get to, where you have your real estate portfolio taking care of your lifestyle. And that's how I'm able to semi-retire again and move to Cabo and live the beach life. I call it making beach money.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So my other mentor said, Padilla, you're not making money until you're making money while you're sleeping. And how do I do that? By having that passive income.
Yeah.
Every month, that passive income comes in.
I buy a fair amount of single family, but with today's interest rates and et cetera, your best case scenario is a break even buying single family right now.
You got to be very careful with that.
Yeah. Like that's kind of like best case scenario is, you'll have like $1,000, $500, but after expenses and stuff, like you're really breaking even once you pull your money out of the deal on a refi. That's why I like the idea of asking questions about the multifamily space, because I know that there's obviously a bigger arbitrage there if you're buying right. With
Much
single
bigger.
family, it's like you can find like a big win right now would be like you buy a single family house out here for like $600,000. That's like you're getting a really good deal. And then you're because of interest rates, you're still breaking even. So you're saying big deal, seller financing. That's the arbitrage.
Absolutely. And let me go back a little bit on that. Look, what I tell my mentees is that from where you're at right now, from this point to where you want to get to, for me, is I always wanted to be the investor. I never wanted to become a realtor.
Yeah.
I just fell into it, right? So from where you're at right now to where you want to get to, the fastest way to get there is on a straight line. To where you're at to where you want to get to. Find a vetted mentor that's doing whatever it is that you want to do and learn from them. What I did is I did the reverse circle, which took me 15 years.
Yeah.
I went from wanting to become the investor to being a broker's assistant, a buyer's agent, a listing agent, a broker owner, fix and flips, and finally 15 years later, focusing on multi-million-dollar deals.
Yeah. But in terms of your multi-million-dollar deals, your sweet spot for those is something that is multifamily and that you can find like some kind of favorable seller financing on.
That is huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been doing seller financing for 24 years.
Okay.
And when the market was hot, brokers would laugh at me and say, you can't do seller financing. The market's too hot, but I was doing it. Right. So even when interest rates were low, I was still getting seller financing. And then people say, well, Padilla, how do you get it? Number one, I know what I want. Number two, I ask for what I want. And number three, I'm a pain in the ask, not a pain in the ass. A pain in the ask. I continue to ask until I get what I want. Do I always get it? No. But when I do, I get seller financing. It's a big win. I'm coming in. I bought it, I bought a building. Okay. And I bought it for $6 million. And I came in with 20% down. Right. And the seller gave me seller financing for 5 years at 3.5% interest only payments.
Awesome.
Is that a great play?
Awesome.
Okay. Now that was about 7 years ago.
Okay. That
property is worth how much now?
7. It probably almost doubled.
Exactly. Almost, right? It's now worth $12 million. Right? And now I already refinanced it. I refinanced it and I used it as an ATM. I pulled out all of my money plus some profit. And now I still own it. That property now is projecting almost $80,000 a month in income.
That's awesome.
Right? That's a power play. So how many of those do you need to live your dream lifestyle? And that's why I tell you guys, look, what Dan Pena told me. So Dan Pena is also Mexican. I'm what I call a Mex-I-Can. Okay. I'm a Mex-I-Can, right? So when I went to go see Dan Pena, I had a bunch of duplexes, fourplexes, houses, condos, own your owns, townhomes, etc. And he said, pendejo, nobody gets rich off buying that shit. And if they do, they're going to be 65 or 75 years of age. Because what you said, the spreads are too small. Right? The point is to build wealth now so that you can enjoy it, so that you can live your dream lifestyle now, not when you're 65 or 70. So you can be like this guy, 30. Right? And driving the beautiful Ferrari and living in a beautiful home like he does. You want to be able to live the dream lifestyle now with your family. So you got to get out of the duplexes, fourplexes. I sold everything and I did a 1031.
Exchange.
But I bundled them up. So I would bundle up 2-3 properties. So I could have more cash. Then I would do a 1031 exchange and I leveled up to 20, 30 units.
Got it. All I have is the duplexes and triplexes, and I bought them all at 3%. I call it dumb luck, whatever. I was aggressive. I have a bunch of those.
So here's what it's called before I forget. I have a short attention span. Right. So I want to give you this. So what it's called the Rollup. And what you do, and this is what Dan Pena taught me, is you're going to roll up 1, 2, 3, 4 small properties, bundle them up, sell them simultaneously or as close as you can, do a 1031 into one bigger asset, into one multi-million-dollar deal. We're going to do a video on this coming up on my Instagram. And people always ask me, when should we sell the property, right? So what I'm saying on that video is you got to ask yourself some questions. Number one, has the property done its job? Number two, is this the best use of my capital and time? And number three, what is my return on equity? So you do your return on equity on those properties.
Oh, yeah. If I calculated my return on equity, it would be bad.
It would be, you're probably going to 10% or less.
If I had to guess, like my equity position across, I can't do the math off the top of my head. It's at least a few million bucks. And I'm not making more than 12.
That's my point. So your return on equity is so low that it's probably time for you to do a roll up 1031 exchange into a bigger deal and get that seller financing.
We're selling the houses.
We're
selling the houses. We're selling it all.
We're selling this house.
No, actually, I love that because I haven't actually, that's why I love sitting down with guys like you. You learn shit that you wouldn't ever talk about when you're doing your day to day. I'm sitting, theoretically, I could have access to a few $1 million. And my return on it, like I said, is probably like 12 grand. If I gave you $3 million today and you were going to go buy a building, what would and it wasn't even a home run, what would your monthly positive cash flow be on it?
Oh, I don't know. I'd have to run those numbers. I'm not always looking at, I'm always looking at what kind of spread I can make. Right. So what am I buying it for? And how much can I sell it for? Right. Especially when you guys are starting off, remember that wealth loves speed. Okay. When you're first starting off, eventually you can just hold on and keep the portfolio going. But when you're on takeoff mode, wealth loves speed. So you got to get that asset, reposition it, raise the NOI, the net operating income, and then sell it and then level up to a bigger one on a 1031 exchange so you're not paying any taxes.
See, I haven't sold anything.
It's time for you to do a roll up. And
Yeah.
something else with what you were just saying about learning, like from someone like myself, right? Is they tell the young cats, look, if you want to learn how to do a great open house, hire a coach that's good at doing open houses. You want to learn how to do a great listing presentation, hire a coach that does a great listing presentation and knows how to take the listings. You want to do fix and flips? The same thing. Get a fix and flip coach. You want to build wealth? Get a vetted mentor that has done it.
Yeah.
And is building wealth and is buying the multi-million-dollar properties.
So do you do a lot of mentoring?
Not a lot, but yeah, I do it. Yeah.
Does that represent much of your income, or is that more something
God,
that you're
no,
just
there's
passionate?
no money in it. Don't get into it if you're not into it yet.
Yeah.
No. So it's really actually now my passion. You know, somebody asked me, why don't I get more aggressive in buying more real estate? I tell them that they asked the shaman, what's poison? And the shaman said, having more of anything than what you need can be poisonous. So for me, I have one daughter. She's 9 years old. What she's going to inherit is way more than what she's ever going to need.
Yeah.
So what I told my wife is, hey, let's ride it till the wheels fall off.
Yeah.
Right? We don't need more real estate. If I get my hands on a power play, we'll definitely take a look at it.
Yeah.
But I don't need more real estate. My daughter's inheriting everything, and it's way more than what she needs. So what I don't have more of is time. So I'm going to enjoy my time.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's why we're going to live the beach life.
I love that.
And that's why we're moving to Cabo.
I love that. And I've recently been thinking about, because I absolutely love this house and I'm in no rush.
Yeah.
But there's a neighborhood called Sherwood where the houses are, $4, $5, $6, $7, $8 million.
Yep.
And I'm in the process of joining that country club. And ideally, my ideal life is I take my golf court to the course.
Yep.
I hang out. I sell a few of the high-end homes and I buy apartment buildings.
Yeah.
And sitting down and having this conversation is like, okay, well, how many apartment buildings do I need to own to pay for my mortgage on the $5 million house?
And that's what I'm talking about, is doing that reverse math.
Yeah.
Is how much do you need monthly, and then creating that with monthly passive income.
Yep.
So now you don't have to work.
Yeah.
Now you're working because you want to work.
Because I've been to myself, how do I do that? Because that's something that I want to do. And in single family, the way I'm doing it right now, it's not possible. Like, you need to be earning so much money that you're paying cash for single family houses to be able to get, $7,000 a month on $1 million or whatever it is. And now I'm realizing maybe it's a bundle sale. Maybe I take my existing 9 units or whatever, throw them together on LoopNet and see what comes of it.
That's right.
And do a big 1031 exchange so I can maybe even find that income with what I already have.
You have nothing to lose and everything to gain by giving it a shot.
Interesting. Yeah, because I've always been in my head like, look, I have 3% interest rates. I never sell anything.
No, so look. So what you can also do is you can sell on seller financing and you can make a spread on whatever you owe the bank. So if you owe the bank, and again, guys, you got to consult with your attorneys.
Yeah.
This is not legal advice. It's something I've done, but you guys got to consult with your own attorneys. So if you have a mortgage of 3%, right, with Chase, now you sell it, but now you're selling it at 7%. So you're making a 4% spread. And then you have that buyer pay the difference in cash, or you carry a second.
So I would carry a second, and then it would basically be a wraparound.
It's a wraparound. Yep.
Okay. So
So technically a wraparound, it's called a wraparound mortgage, but we don't have mortgages in California. So it's technically an AITD, all-inclusive trust deed.
Yep. Okay. So you can do that. You can make not only a spread on the money, but you can also continue making money that way. You're also getting all the cash.
Yep. And you can also carry a second if needed.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
That's just another option to selling.
Yeah.
But don't get stuck on that, because again, look at your return on equity, right?
Yeah.
So can you just take all your money, and who cares if the rate's at 3%? Can you get yourself into a multi-million-dollar deal and make a bigger spread?
Yeah.
And make more passive income?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's awesome. Awesome. Well, Hector, thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome.
This information has been gold, not only for my listeners, but seriously for myself.
Beautiful.
I really appreciate your insights, and I appreciate you taking the drive out here.
Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you guys.
Peace out. And a huge thank you to Inspired Garage for building these beautiful custom cabinets behind me. Before, we had these ugly white cabinets that did not look good in the podcast. They came in here, put these together in a very short time frame, and the quality is unmatchable. Thank you, Inspired Garage.